We live in a world where love has become a performance. Swipe, match, text, ghost, repeat. We've never had more access to people, and yet we've never been more confused about connection. We chase sparks, we crave chemistry, and we believe that if it feels right, it must be right. But here's the truth. Modern love is a mess. And the reason? We want romance without responsibility. Romance is easy. It's the dinner dates, the sweet texts, the butterflies, but responsibility, that's the tough part. That's the part where you have to show up when it's inconvenient. That's the part where you apologize without defending yourself. That's the part where you hold yourself accountable for your emotional patterns, your pain, your past. And that is what we are skipping. We live in a world obsessed with feeling. We want the spark, the rush, the butterflies. We want someone to text us good morning, to miss us when we're gone, to hold our hand in public. And there's nothing wrong with any of that. It's human, it's natural. But what's happening in modern relationships is that we're chasing those feelings at the expense of building something that actually lasts. We want the emotions without doing the work. We want the intimacy without the effort. We want the feelings without the foundations. Attraction is easy. It takes no effort to be drawn to someone. Chemistry can happen in an instant. But real love, real connection, that's slow, that's intentional, that's built. And most people aren't building anymore. They're consuming. Relationships have become transactional. What do you give me? How do you make me feel? Or are you meeting my needs? But the moment those feelings fade, or someone says something that triggers us, or reality kicks in, we start to question everything. Not because the relationship is broken, but because it was never built on anything solid in the first place. This is what happens when we prioritize emotion over character. When someone makes us laugh, when we feel seen, when we're physically attracted, we assume we've found something meaningful. But those are surface level indicators. The real test is not how you feel in the beginning. The real test is who that person is when things get hard. Do they communicate? Do they take responsibility? Do they show up? These are the things that form the bedrock of a lasting relationship. But if we don't stop to evaluate them, if we rush into romance based on a feeling, we're setting ourselves up for disappointment. Feelings are real, but they're not always reliable. They fluctuate. They're influenced by mood, hormones, stress, sleep, past trauma, and even what we ate that day. That's why relationships built only on feelings feel unstable, because they are. One disagreement, one moment of distance, and suddenly we're questioning whether we're falling out of love. But love isn't something you fall into or out of. It's something you build, brick by brick, through trust, consistency, vulnerability, and shared values. Foundations in relationships aren't glamorous. No one posts on social media about boundaries or honest communication or learning to apologize. But those are the things that hold everything together when the storms come. If you haven't built that foundation, if you haven't had the uncomfortable conversations, if you haven't revealed your insecurities, if you haven't shown up when it was hard, then you don't have a relationship. You have a fantasy. So many people are in love with an idea, not a person. They're in love with how someone makes them feel, not who that person truly is. And the moment that fantasy is challenged by reality, the whole thing collapses. That's not because love is broken. It's because we never built anything real to begin with. A strong relationship is like a house. If the walls are beautifully painted, but the foundation is cracked, it will eventually fall apart. If we want something real, we have to start doing the real work. We have to stop chasing feelings and start asking better questions. Who are you when you're angry? How do you handle conflict? Can you apologize sincerely? Can you sit with me in discomfort? These questions might not feel romantic, but they are the difference between something that lasts and something that burns out fast. The truth is, feelings will come and go, but the foundation you build, that's what determines whether love grows stronger or falls apart. So before you get swept away by the moment, ask yourself if you're laying bricks for something real or just chasing a feeling that will fade. In a world where appearances dominate and charisma often overshadows character, we're drawn to charm, to confidence, to style. We notice the way someone talks, how they dress, how they carry themselves in a room. But the truth is, those things fade. Looks change. Charm can be manipulated, and confidence without substance is just noise. What remains, what truly endures, is integrity. And it turns out that's the most attractive quality of all. Integrity isn't loud. It doesn't seek attention or validation. It doesn't try to impress or perform. It simply is. A person with integrity aligns their actions with their values. They mean what they say and follow through on their promises, even when no one is watching. They don't pretend to be someone else to win affection or approval. They're consistent, grounded, honest, and in a world full of masks and mixed messages, that kind of consistency is magnetic. You might not notice integrity right away. It doesn't sparkle the way infatuation does. It doesn't set off emotional fireworks on the first date. But over time, it reveals itself in the small things. The person who texts you when they said they would. The one who apologizes without being forced. The one who admits when they're wrong. The one who speaks well of others when there's no benefit to doing so. These are the quiet moments where integrity shines. And when you've experienced the chaos of emotional games, inconsistency, or broken trust, that kind of steadiness becomes incredibly attractive. Integrity is attractive because it creates safety. When you're with someone who has integrity, you don't have to second guess their motives. You don't have to wonder what they really mean or if they're being genuine. You know where they stand. You know who they are. And that clarity is powerful. It makes intimacy possible because emotional closeness can only grow in a space where trust lives. And trust cannot exist without integrity. There's something deeply attractive about someone who doesn't compromise their values, even when it's inconvenient. Someone who treats others with respect, not just when it's easy, but when it's hard. Someone who won't lie to make you feel better, but will tell you the truth in a way that's kind. That's strength. That's maturity. That's love in its highest form. Not performance, but principle. Not seduction, but sincerity. Too often, people chase chemistry and overlook character. They fall for the thrill, the spark, the surface, and then wonder why it all falls apart. But chemistry is easy to find. Integrity is not. Chemistry can bring people together, but only integrity can keep them together. Without it, every relationship eventually runs into the same wall: mistrust, disappointment, disconnection. Because without integrity, there's no foundation. And without a foundation, love cannot stand. Integrity is also attractive because it signals self-respect. A person who acts with integrity doesn't sell themselves out to be liked. They know who they are and what they stand for. That kind of self-awareness and self-trust is deeply compelling. It draws in people who are also ready to show up honestly. It sets a tone. It raises the standard. And it creates a space where real connection can grow, not from performance, but from truth. At the end of the day, beauty will fade, excitement will come and go, but integrity, that stays. That shows up when life gets messy. That holds you steady when emotions run high. That reminds you that love isn't just about how someone makes you feel, it's about how someone chooses to treat you when it matters most. The most attractive person in the room isn't always the loudest or the most noticed. Sometimes it's the one quietly doing what's right. Being who they say they are and showing up with heart even when no one's clapping. That's integrity. That's rare. And that's what truly makes someone unforgettable. In today's dating culture, we often confuse compatibility with convenience. We mistake shared habits for shared values. We interpret someone being easy to get along with as evidence that they're a good long-term fit. And while comfort can feel like connection, they are not the same thing. Real compatibility runs much deeper than similar music taste, mutual attraction, or liking the same Netflix shows. It's about who you are when life gets hard, how you navigate conflict, how you handle stress, and whether your principles align when things are no longer convenient. Convenience is appealing because it doesn't challenge us. It's someone who lives nearby, who fits into your schedule, who doesn't ruffle too many feathers, or push too many boundaries. It's easy, it flows, and while it might feel good in the short term, it rarely lasts because it's not built on anything deeper than circumstance. The minute things get inconvenient, long distance, emotional growth, major life decisions, the connection begins to unravel. Why? Because the foundation wasn't real compatibility, it was just comfort. Compatibility, on the other hand, is harder to identify because it requires introspection and intentionality. It's not just about who you like spending time with, it's about who you want to build a life with. It's about alignment. Are you moving in the same direction? Do you want the same kind of relationship? Do you both take responsibility for your growth? Are you emotionally safe with each other? These questions don't always come up on the first few dates. They take time, and they require courage to explore. What often happens is we fall into relationships that feel right, simply because they're easy. No arguments, no big differences, no major friction. But peace isn't always a sign of compatibility. Sometimes it's a sign that no one is being fully honest, that no one is digging deep, that both people are afraid of confrontation. And when people avoid depth, it creates a false sense of harmony, one that quickly shatters when reality intrudes. Many relationships fail, not because the people involved were wrong for each other, but because they never really knew each other. They mistook good vibes for good fit. They didn't ask the hard questions. What does commitment mean to you? How do you handle anger? What are your goals and how do they influence your relationships? These aren't fun questions. They aren't cute, but they're necessary. Because compatibility isn't discovered, it's revealed through shared challenges, honest conversations, and repeated choices. Convenience often keeps us from asking these questions. We get too comfortable. We don't want to rock the boat. We assume that if things are going smoothly, there's no need to dig deeper. But the truth is, real love demands depth. It demands effort. It demands that we go beyond the surface and find out who we are and who the other person is when things aren't going our way. Compatibility isn't about avoiding friction, it's about how you move through it together. Do you respect each other's boundaries? Do you support each other's growth even when it's uncomfortable? Do you solve problems as a team? Can you have difficult conversations without tearing each other down? These are the traits that sustain love over time. Not how easy the beginning was, but how strong the middle becomes. When we mistake convenience for compatibility, we rob ourselves of something deeper. We settle for relationships that look good on the outside but lack the inner strength to weather life's storms. We need to stop making decisions based on how smooth the ride is and start focusing on whether the person beside us is someone we can trust with the wheel when we're tired. True compatibility is rare not because people are hard to find, but because it takes courage to build. It's not about how easy it is to be with someone, it's about how committed both people are to doing the hard things together. Convenience is a feeling, compatibility is a choice. One faders, the other endures. Emotional maturity doesn't usually make the highlight reel. It's not the thing we write about in dating profiles or post in cute captions. It doesn't create sparks on the first date or flood your nervous system with butterflies. It's not loud, dramatic, or intoxicating. And that's exactly why so many people overlook it. In a world that celebrates the thrill of newness and the adrenaline of romantic intensity, emotional maturity seems boring. But the truth is, it's only boring until everything else falls apart. That's when emotional maturity becomes everything. At first, we're drawn to charisma. We're impressed by confidence, charm, beauty, and style. But those things don't hold up in a storm. When conflict arises, when insecurities are triggered, when life gets hard, charm won't save the relationship. Emotional maturity will, because emotional maturity is about how you show up when things are not going your way. It's about whether you can manage your emotions without projecting them. It's about whether you can sit in discomfort without blaming someone else for it. It's about owning your wounds instead of using them as weapons. In a relationship, emotional maturity looks like being able to say, I was wrong and I want to do better. It looks like listening without interrupting, staying present in a hard conversation, and regulating your tone even when you're upset. It's pausing before reacting. It's choosing to be kind instead of right. And most importantly, it's taking responsibility for your inner world instead of expecting your partner to fix it. These qualities don't create instant fireworks, but they create safety. And safety is the real foundation of lasting love. The problem is, safety isn't sexy. Until you've experienced the chaos of immaturity, until you've been with someone who explodes at the smallest issue, until you've been blamed for someone else's emotional mess, until you've walked on eggshells around someone you're supposed to feel close to, that's when emotional maturity starts to look like the most attractive quality in the world. Because once you've experienced the emotional roller coaster of an unstable relationship, you realize how rare and beautiful it is to be with someone who brings peace instead of drama. Emotional maturity is also about self-awareness. It's knowing your triggers, understanding your patterns, and being honest about your own growth areas. Immature people deflect, they avoid, they manipulate. But mature people reflect. They take the time to understand where they're coming from and how their actions affect others. They don't need to be perfect, but they are committed to getting better. And when two people bring that kind of mindset into a relationship, it changes everything. Because now, instead of reacting out of fear, they respond with intention. The truth is, emotional maturity isn't just about how you handle your bad days, it's about how you hold someone else on their bad days. Can you create space for someone else's pain without making it about you? Can you support them without controlling them? Can you stay present when their emotions make you uncomfortable? That's the real test. And it's a test many people fail, not because they're bad people, but because they never learned how to be emotionally responsible. We live in a culture that teaches us how to impress, but not how to connect. We learn how to flirt, how to attract, how to chase, but not how to hold space, how to self-soothe, how to communicate with compassion. That's why so many relationships burn fast and crash hard, because emotional immaturity creates emotional instability. And no matter how strong the attraction is, instability will always lead to disconnection. Eventually, you stop craving the person who makes your heart race, and you start craving the person who makes your nervous system relax. That's when you know you've grown. Because you realize love isn't supposed to be a war zone. It's supposed to be a place of refuge. And the people who make the best partners aren't always the most exciting. They're the ones who are stable, grounded, and emotionally accountable. So no, emotional maturity isn't sexy until it's the only thing that matters. Love is often portrayed as the thing that saves us, the fairy tale ending, the missing piece, the person who comes along and makes everything better. We're taught to believe that once we find the one, our pain will disappear, our past will stop haunting us, and we'll finally feel whole. But that's not love. That's fantasy. Real love isn't a fix for our brokenness. It's not a cure for loneliness or an escape from ourselves. Love is a choice, a conscious, consistent, sometimes difficult choice to show up, to grow and to give, not from emptiness, but from wholeness. When we treat love as a fix, we place unrealistic pressure on our partners. We expect them to make us feel secure, confident, and worthy. We hand them the responsibility for our happiness, and when they can't meet those needs perfectly, and no one can, we feel disappointed, hurt, or abandoned. This is how dependency disguises itself as romance. It's not love. It's a need dressed up in emotional intensity. And when that need isn't met, the relationship begins to crumble, not because love isn't present, but because the expectations were misplaced. Choosing love means taking responsibility for yourself first. It means doing the inner work, healing your wounds, understanding your patterns, and recognizing that no one else can do that work for you. When you come into a relationship thinking another person will fix you, you don't show up as a partner, you show up as a project. And the truth is, love doesn't grow between a fixer and a broken thing. It grows between two people who are whole enough to support each other, challenge each other, and walk through life together. Not to complete each other, but to complement each other. Love as a choice is steady, not frantic. It doesn't rely on constant validation or dramatic highs and lows. It's not about being rescued. It's about being met fully and honestly. Choosing love means waking up each day and deciding to be present, even when it's inconvenient. It means choosing to communicate when it would be easier to withdraw. It means choosing to forgive, to listen, to be vulnerable, not because the other person is perfect, but because the connection is worth the effort. When we stop trying to use love to fix our pain, something powerful happens. We start relating from a place of strength, not scarcity. We stop grasping for attention or approval, and we begin offering presence, patience, and peace. We stop needing someone to fill a void, and we start becoming someone who can build something meaningful. That's when relationships stop feeling like roller coasters and start feeling like safe havens. It's easy to fall in love. It's harder to stay in love. And it's even harder to do so without asking that love to fix you. But that's what makes it beautiful. Love isn't supposed to erase our struggles. It's supposed to give us someone we can grow through them with. It's not supposed to heal our inner child. It's supposed to give us a space where we can be seen, supported, and still held accountable. That kind of love doesn't just happen. It's built brick by brick through daily choices. So no, love isn't the thing that makes everything okay. It's not the ending to your story. It's the beginning of a new chapter that requires more honesty, more responsibility, and more intention than any fairy tale ever told you. If you want love to last, stop looking for someone to fix you. Start becoming someone who can love deeply, give generously, and choose consciously. Because the most powerful love stories aren't the ones that save us. They're the ones that grow with us. And that kind of love, that's a choice. every single day. In the age of instant gratification, we've made it incredibly easy to disconnect from accountability. With a single swipe, we can reject people, ideas, and even parts of ourselves that don't feel comfortable. The dating landscape has become a space where convenience is king and responsibility is rarely part of the conversation. We want relationships, but we don't want to be held responsible for how we show up in them. We want love, but on our terms. Terms that often exclude self-reflection, growth, and the discomfort that real accountability requires. Accountability isn't glamorous. It doesn't get you likes or compliments. It demands humility, courage, and maturity. It requires you to pause when you're angry instead of blaming. It asks you to take ownership of your patterns instead of pointing fingers. And for many people, that level of self-awareness feels like a threat. So we avoid it. We distract ourselves with apps and options. We chase chemistry instead of character. And when a relationship challenges us to look in the mirror, we'd rather swipe left and start over than do the internal work. The truth is, most people want the rewards of a deep connection without the responsibility that sustains it. We say we want someone honest, but we avoid hard conversations. We say we want loyalty, but we keep our options open just in case. We say we want love, but we disappear the moment it asks us to grow. This isn't a relationship problem, it's a personal accountability problem. And until we confront that, every connection will eventually feel disposable. When you lack accountability, your relationships become reactive. You shift blame. You rewrite narratives to make yourself the victim. You bounce from person to person, looking for someone who doesn't trigger your insecurities. Someone who will let you stay exactly as you are. But love doesn't work that way. Real connection will always reveal your edges. It will surface your flaws, your fears, your emotional blind spots, and it will ask you to take responsibility, not just for how you feel, but for how you act. Accountability isn't about shame or self-punishment. It's about awareness and ownership. It's saying, yes, that was me. I said that. I did that. And I want to understand why. That kind of mindset is rare in today's dating culture, where it's easier to ghost someone than to explain why you're leaving. It's easier to criticize others than to reflect on your contribution. But nothing changes until you do. Relationships don't evolve because you meet better people. They evolve because you become a better partner. The more you avoid accountability, the more you repeat your pain. You find yourself in the same situations with different faces. You keep asking, why does this always happen to me? Without realizing you are the common denominator. That's not judgment. That's power. Because the moment you realize your patterns are within your control, everything changes. You stop outsourcing your emotional health to other people. You stop demanding perfection and start embracing growth. Accountability is the foundation of trust. Without it, apologies are empty, promises are meaningless, and intimacy becomes impossible. Because no one can feel safe with someone who constantly avoids responsibility. The most attractive thing you can bring into a relationship isn't beauty, success, or even charm. It's the willingness to own your part, to repair what you've broken, to grow through what you've avoided. In the end, swiping left on accountability may feel like self-protection, but it's actually self-sabotage. It keeps you stuck in shallow patterns and disconnected from the kind of love that requires depth, the love that sees you, challenges you, and calls you to rise. That kind of love doesn't come from running. It comes from reckoning with yourself, your past, and your power to choose differently. You can't build a lasting relationship on a foundation of avoidance. Love isn't sustained by convenience, it's sustained by responsibility. And until we stop swiping left on accountability, we'll keep swiping away the very thing we say we're searching for.